Welcome back, everybody, to the Attract and Stand Out podcast. I'm your host, Darlene Holly. I am so thrilled for today's guest. I have with me David Wachs, who is a serial entrepreneur, and his latest venture is called Handwrytten, and it's bringing back the lost art of letter writing through scalable, robot-based solutions that write your notes in pen. Developed as a platform, Handwrytten lets you send notes from your CRM system, from places like Salesforce, your website, through apps, as well as through custom integration. Used by major mailboxes, e-commerce giants, nonprofits, and professionals, Handwrytten is changing the way brands and people connect. David, I am so excited to have you here today and to chat about this. I love the fact that you're bringing back handwritten notes, and it's such a dying art. Is that the way to say that? But I feel like it's something I don't get very often anymore. So I love that you're bringing back that.
Thank you, Darlene. Yeah, that's exactly why we're doing it. Prior to Handwrytten, I ran a text messaging company. So we would send 1 million texts a day for brands like Abercrombie and Fitch and Toys R Us, Sam's Club, Office Max, Auto Trader. And what I realized in that is it was all just becoming noise, electronic communication, from the 140 emails the average office worker receives to the hundreds of texts a month. And then you add in Slack and Twitter and Facebook messaging and all these other forms of communication. People are now inundated with electronic communication. And at the same time, people started ignoring the actual inbox, the inbox in front of your home. So I thought, what could we do to automate and create a platform for sending handwritten notes that look 100% real, written in pen, automatically, so that they actually get done. And that's what we've done with Handwrytten.
Yeah. And I've seen I've been in business for about 15 years. And I remember we had a family friend who she did like a handwritten business where she would do greeting cards and different things. And they would personally sign like realtors' signatures and different things like that. And then I've seen some MLM businesses that have come around and did some personal cards. But what I love about your concept is you have robots doing it, which is super fun. But it's actually handwritten, where I know a lot of the other systems that I've seen, it looks handwritten, like it's in handwritten, but it's still like a computer printout. So it actually gives the person who's receiving it, I would imagine, like, oh, somebody like hand wrote me a note, which like you shared, we don't get as much anymore.
Yeah, the MLM, I think you're probably referring to send out cards. That's laser printed. It looks like brush script from the 1990s. What we do, it's all written in Pilot G2 ballpoint pen. So you can pick up the pens at an office supply store. The ink smudges if you try to smudge it, which is important. And we vary the characters. So it's not a font. It's dynamically varied characters so that 2 O's together look different, 2 L's. Do you cross your T's with 1 crossbar or 2 if you have 2 T's together? We vary the line spacing. We vary where it starts on the left-hand side to create a really organic yet subtle look. It doesn't look overdone. It looks like you actually took, a human did it, but we're able to help you do it at a scale where you wouldn't be able to do it. We can also recreate handwriting if you have your own handwriting that you need used, or certainly we can do your signature too. And what we find is that if you send somebody one of these notes and you say, hey, what did you think of the note? They'd say, oh, thank you so much for the handwritten note. It really meant a lot to me, or that was so thoughtful of you. If you send them a note and you say, was this written by a robot? Well, then of course they're going to put it under triple the scrutiny and maybe come to the determination that was, but otherwise it totally passes muster. And we have clients that have their customers calling them crying right now because of COVID. I don't think it's really handwritten. I think it's just COVID, saying how nice of it was for you to send me a handwritten note. Everybody's so alone right now that those little touch points make a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually got a handwritten note recently from a client in the mail, and it feels good to get a handwritten note. Like you said, we're inundated with so many emails. If I get one more email, half the time I'm like, oh my gosh, my inbox has 30 new emails and I just checked it 20 minutes ago. How is that even possible? And most of them are junk mail. Most times it's going through and deleting all the stuff. But it takes it that extra step further, especially when you're using it for prospecting or connecting and building relationships within your business. Like there's a whole personal touch piece to it that you can't get any other way. I mean, you can do videos, which I know a lot of people are using videos, and I've tried BombBomb and different things like that to send videos to prospects. and even to clients, just to build that communication and send a quick message. And those are great, but snail mail is still something that's underused and so valuable.
Yeah, we work closely with Bonjoro, which is kind of like BombBomb, and we feel like we're kind of in the same space because it's all about perceived allocation of time and investment in time. When you send a custom video, what you're really doing is saying, I'm not automating this, right? Like I'm videoing myself talking to you, and handwritten notes have the same perceived, you're not able to automate them, even though you are. So people really appreciate that perceived dedication of time. The difference with handwritten and like video mail is our clients find these notes standing up on people's desks or in their homes or wherever a year later.
Yeah.
So, when was the last time you printed out an email or printed out a text message and put it in your home for a year? We have a piano tuner that comes in your home, tunes your piano. That only happens once a year. Your piano stays tuned for a year. And then a year later, when he comes back to your home, he often sees that note sitting on the piano. So not only was it open and read, but it's on display in the fancy room of the home, as my parents used to call it, on the piano. So it's
the room no one's allowed to go into.
Exactly. Yep.
Stand in the foyer and like, oh, it's so pretty and it's wrapped in plastic.
Exactly. And that's what he finds is these notes, they really, and what's the value of that brand impression to sit there day after day, 365 days? I mean, that's a huge potential brand impression. So we're excited that we've kind of helped people do this at a scale that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So take us back a little bit. I know you said that you used to do a lot of text messaging and marketing for some big box companies. Where did the idea to start Handwritten and to bring robots into that concept come from?
So I started Cellit, the last company, in 2004. I ran it until 2010. I sold it in 2010, and then I had to work for the new owners for 2 years until 2012. During that 2 years of working for the new owners, I was thinking, what do I do next? I'm still pretty young, and if I don't keep myself busy, I tend to go a little stir crazy. So what do I do next? And I started walking around my office and my employees' offices and everything else, and I realized when people received handwritten notes, they put them on their bookshelves or on their desk behind them. And I thought, gee, I send handwritten notes, or I want to send handwritten notes, but I never get around to it. Like, you can go into my laptop bag and find an old birthday card that I meant to send to my mom, but ended up just getting banged up in the laptop bag because I never got around to writing it and I never got a stamp. So I had the best intentions to send handwritten notes, but life got the best of me, or I was lazy or whatever. And then when I finally wrapped up Cellit and I was ready to leave and go on to the next thing, I started sending handwritten notes to all my customers and employees. Sorry if there's background noise. There's some landscaper going on back there. But there's so I wanted to send handwritten notes to my customers and employees, but my hand quickly cramped, or I screwed up and I had to get a new card, and it was just so frustrating. I thought, here's my new business. Here's Handwritten. Then I thought, okay, so how am I going to do this? I need some way to create an authentic looking solution. And I thought robots or machinery would be the best way to go about it. And there's actually a machine from a company based in Virginia, and they make these 40-year-old things called auto pens. And we started with those machines, but quickly we realized for the quality we needed and for the scalability we needed, this just wasn't going to work, and we needed our own robot. Sure, easy, just build a robot. Who can't do that? But after 2 years, we figured it out, and I actually wrote the software. I hired some mechanical engineers to build the hardware, brought that hardware development in-house, and now we're on revision 4 or 5 of these robots. They're built entirely in-house. We laser cut parts, 3D print parts, have custom parts made for us. It's very vertically integrated, and we have the robot patented. And so all this comes together. We build these robots, then we just put them to work on the other side, actually writing notes. Now we're up to about 145 robots. We're trying to get to about 175, 180 in the next month and a half to handle the Christmas rush. These robots write only about as fast as a human, so we need a lot of them. Yeah, that's been a big thing. But I'm very proud of the fact that they have the best of class writing technology. Like I said, they're patented. They're incredible machines, and it's exciting to see their evolution as the business grows.
Yeah, I love that. Like, I want to like pause you for a second. Like, you built a robot that handwrites.
Yeah.
You're like, who couldn't build a robot? I'm like, I can't build a robot.
No, I was in jest. I mean, one of these things where necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
Like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to build a robot, figure it out. And that's kind of what we did. I have a software background. I'm a computer science engineer by trade. Don't really know anything about hardware, but I knew kind of how the electronics on the robot would work, kind of the parts I wanted to use there. And then I was able to figure out how to get it to draw. And then it became about paper feeding and doing this at manageability across multiple devices. And really the paper feeding was the huge issue. It's about 5 years ago, we had a competitor called Bond. They actually beat me to this space. They were the first company out there doing robotically written handwritten notes at scale. And they grew very fast, and then they collapsed on themselves because they were just using 3D printers to write the notes. So a 3D printer moves up, down, left, right, up, down to move the pen, left, right to move the pen left and right and draw. But the problem of a 3D printer is it doesn't have a paper feed. So they had somebody sticking paper manually, like it's a Gutenberg press on these things, page after page, and that just doesn't scale. So the company went under. But what we've done is we've invested heavily in operational efficiency, automation, quality assurance, machine learning. So all the notes go through a machine vision system to ensure that the quality is there. It's a very, very complicated. I mean, my last business, we were sending 1 million texts a day. This business is way more complicated, way more complicated. So it's just interesting how, in the end result, it's a handwritten note, but the amount of work to send out that handwritten note when you're sending 400,000 pieces a month is very different.
Yeah, I can imagine that's quite the workload, and just the tech piece of keeping the robots in great condition and keep them moving, making sure that nothing goes awry, and like most things, like some days things go wrong, and trying to fix them and get everything back up and going. I can imagine at points like you're going to have real life people going in there and supporting those robots and making sure that things are producing and proper.
Oh yeah, we have 40 people supporting the robots. So, I often get asked, well, what are you doing for jobs? Are these robots destroying jobs? It's the exact opposite. These robots have created jobs, good jobs, clean, good paying jobs. So no, the robots have been good for our economy here in Phoenix. I've been able to employ 40 people that would otherwise be, some of them, like the quality assurance people, might be flipping burgers or doing construction, and now they have air conditioned jobs where they quality check notes, and it's way easy on their backs if nothing else.
Yeah, and I can imagine they enjoy doing what they're doing. Like, and physically, if you had 140 people sitting there, you probably couldn't get even half of what you do per day with robots, because we're human. Our hands get tired. Shoot,
exactly.
If I write one letter, I'm like, all right, my hand's exhausted. Like, I need to take a break.
Yeah, and it's not only the throughput of people, it's also the risk. Their handwriting is going to kind of get worse. You can't make sure everybody does a great job. If here we have consistency in handwriting. A robot's not going to go rogue and write, screw you, client, in the note. You know what I mean? They're going to write what you tell them to write. So there's a lot less risk and greater consistency in using robots over people. So I think it's the right solution for the scalability problem.
And I love that you've been able to bring a team of people together to support your business as well. And they're able to, you're bringing jobs to the market. You're creating spaces for people to learn different things, and need for their families as well, which is so important, especially in our communities. Like, the more jobs we can create internally in our area, it helps so many people.
Yeah, it's funny. My head of engineering, who was kind of working for me prior to COVID, and then he's actually still in school. I just love the guy. He's an incredible guy, incredible engineer. And then he went and he managed a Starbucks store, and I was trying to coax him back here, and I'm like, your skills are so underused at Starbucks. And then so he comes back here and he's designing circuit boards and designing robots and 3D printing new models and stuff. And it's, so they're good jobs intellectually too. It's not just pushing lattes.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
The brain power that goes behind it is
Yeah.
a lot. What would you say has been like one of the biggest challenges for you with creating this business and putting everything together and getting your name out there?
Well, certainly. So there's this thing called the BCG matrix of, if on one axis, so it's kind of, think of it as 4 quadrants. On the x-axis, you have new products or old, the closest to the center, you have old products, and then you have new products, further out. And then on the other axis, you have old clients, then you have new clients. Yeah. So the easiest thing in the world to do is sell old clients, old products. If you're selling people pencils, and every month you go and you send them pencils, that's easy. Yeah. But then if you're selling that person you sell pencils, pens, or printers, that's selling an old client a new product, which is harder. Yeah. You have to train them up on the product. The hardest thing to do, though, is sell new clients, new products. We're the world leader in handwritten notes, and we had 0 clients. Yeah. So teaching people about the value of robotically written, scaled handwritten notes to a new user base is very hard. Getting the word out, whether that's boiling the ocean through display advertising or targeting SEO or retargeting or attending conferences, all these ways of getting the word out is quite difficult. And then, of course, building a robot was a multi-year process, and we're still perfecting the process there. So on a business marketing level, targeting new clients with new products is very, very difficult. And then the technical hurdles to scale, and those problems just keep getting more and more crazy, like the machine vision system. Okay, we're putting 200,000 pieces out, 400,000 pieces out. How do you QA that? That's just a whole new problem that we have. So it's just interesting that as your business grows, new problems creep up too, and it's hard to get ahead of it.
Yeah, and that's what it's almost a good thing. It helps us keep us on our toes. It keeps us active. Sure. If it gets too easy and too mundane, then we're going to get bored of it pretty easily. So at least we're kept on our toes. That's at least that's how I try to train my brain to think about it. Yeah. If there's a new obstacle, it's something new, challenging to kind of overcome and figure out and see where to go from there.
And then the next thing is really keeping employees motivated. We have about 22 people in operations that are feeding machines or whatever, determining and developing a career path for them where they don't feel like they're going to be stuffing machines, paper into machines and sending orders to machines all the time. Kind of developing those employees and keeping them happy and understanding there is a career path here. That's been a little difficult too, because we're kind of a one-trick pony. We write notes, so what can they do to kind of build up themselves? And that's been a hurdle too, but it's going along okay.
Yeah. Who do you find are your typical ideal clients for your business? Like, who are you marketing to? And mostly
well, really anybody can use us. It starts at $3.25 to send one note to one person. So there's no big contracts or subscriptions or anything, although we have bulk purchase plans and subscriptions for people that want to send notes on a regular basis. Yeah. Right now, our target market is car dealerships. We're going after those pretty heavily. We also go, we have realtors and mortgage brokers and luxury goods. We work with some high-end leather goods companies. A department store brand is doing 30,000 notes right now. So it really goes the gamut, but due to some interesting integration possibilities in the car dealership space, auto dealerships are kind of where we're focused right now. So it just comes down to the ability to integrate with them quickly, easily, without them having to do a lot. Because in a lot of industries, they say, yeah, I want to integrate you. I want this to be a part of our process. And then it falls on them and their programmers to do, and they just never get around to it. Yeah. But with automotive, they're already integrated into third-party systems, and we just connect into those and it's done. So they don't have to do anything. So it's an interesting industry from that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you define success for you? Like when you think of success for Handwrytten, what does that look like long term for you?
Long term, my payday hopefully will come when I sell the company. I was fortunate enough to sell the last company. And to me, yes, it's, good money, hopefully, fingers crossed, but it's also the fact that somebody says, hey, I want to buy this. This thing is of value. And just that is incredibly rewarding to know that, some people build a sculpture, paint a picture, redo cars, whatever it is, renovate houses like every other house in Phoenix. But, and for them, when they sell that house, somebody's saying, I like what you've done. I want to own it. For me, that product, yes, the product's a handwritten note, but my product is also my business.
Yeah.
So packaging up my business in such a way that somebody's gonna be like, I want to own this business, that's very rewarding. The other thing that's very rewarding to me, and one of my greatest pleasures in life, is developing people. At Handwrytten, there's numerous people that have truly developed, and my head of operations started here when I had 2 robots, the old robots that we bought off the shelf, and now she manages a team of 22. So for her to go from 2 robots to 22 people and a huge operation under her is very rewarding for me. And she's only 28 years old. And then on my old company, I had account managers and software developers and stuff like that, where I had the same experience. And just watching these people grow, progress, mature in their jobs is tremendously rewarding. So that's the other way I see success.
Yeah, I love that you identified that, because I've been in business coaching for 15 years, but my background prior to that was HR training and development inside retail management companies. And that was always my greatest joy as well, was the people development, helping them get where they wanted to go, see them grow through the different positions and the trainings and the development they'd go through in that process was always so rewarding for me. I'm like, I felt like I was winning when they were succeeding. And, sometimes they moved on to other companies and got promoted into those companies. Sometimes they were moving themselves up within the organization, but just knowing that you're a part of that strategy and helping them get where they want to go is it's huge.
Yeah. So I had a saleswoman working with me for 4 months. Then she got poached because she was doing such a good job. The guy on the other end of the phone was so impressed he hired her, which stunk, but I was happy that, we developed her. I wish she would have had the moral fortitude to stick around and say, gee, you trained me up, I'll stick with you for a few years. At my old company, Cellit, after I sold the company, my account manager, who was just incredible, I had 2 or 3 good account managers, but she was the best and she was super incredible. She got poached by one of the companies that was looking to acquire us. They didn't acquire us, but they were looking to acquire us. And she got poached by them. And I was really happy for her because they saw her potential and they gave her a great job. In the end, she quit. And now she's back to teaching yoga. So good for her for following her dreams. But it's really cool. It's just really fun for me to watch these people progress. It was a gift that I didn't realize would be an outcome of running businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things, like you train them up to be so good, like you run the risk of them, starting their own business or getting poached and going into another company or different things like that. But you wouldn't do it any other way, right? Like it's still a matter of you hope that they stay and you give them everything that they need and they're going to make the right decision for them at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what would you say is next for Handwrytten? Like, do you have like some next step goals or what's coming?
Yeah, really there's a couple things. We're going international with one of our big clients early next year. We'll probably be based in Dublin to support the UK, EU market, which is exciting and complicating because I have to staff people over there and have robots over there and build that all out. Also, further development into the automotive space. Our website, handwrytten.com, the the front, before you log in is staying the same next year. That was just redone and we love it. But the actual, once you log in, all that's getting a very heavy redo refresh come January, February. We don't release any code changes during Q4 because of everything going on with our business and the holidays, and all this is driving a lot of orders, so we can't risk it. But come January, February, we're doing a complete refresh there, and it looks gorgeous. It'll be a little bit more usable, certainly faster, in that it'll have some additional campaign management tools. So all that is coming, and we're excited about that too. There's always something new on the horizon. There's a lot of operational efficiency improvements here that will allow us to push more cards faster, that type of thing, like developing a third shift. But from a client perspective or customer facing, it's really the website and a campaign manager. So you'll be able to go in and say, send them a birthday card followed by this card, so you can set up a cadence of cards in addition to just one-off send. So we're excited about that.
You just started taking us where I was going to ask you next, is I forgot to ask, like, what does that process look like? So if I want to send a card to someone, we go to the website, we create an account, we put in their name, their address, what we want the note to say, and then the rest.
That's it. So we have an iPhone app, an Android app, and then obviously a website, and then Zapier integration, which is really big for a lot of our clients. But in a nutshell, you go to our website, you either upload a bulk order of cards. So if you have 500 or 1,000 or 50,000 cards you want to send, you can bulk upload it there. You can even design your own stationery prior to doing that. So you could put your logo on a card, put a picture on the back, whatever, and then we will write on those cards for you. It's 50 cents more a card to do that because it's more labor on our side. We have to print that first. And then, they just go out next day, or you could schedule them out. So if you wanted to do like birthday cards, then holiday cards, you would just have to do 2 uploads right now. You'd have to upload the birthday, upload the holiday. In the future, you'll be able to upload once and set up the cadence of multiple interactions. So we also have a growing number of gift cards available. This has been very popular because, especially now with the supply chain shortages, so sometimes it's hard to send physical gifts. You don't know when you'll get it to be able to send it on. But with our gift cards, you can always send a gift card, and then the onus is on them to order what they actually want, and they'll understand the risks of timing and all that. So we've got 10 gift card brands, so Starbucks, Amazon, Target, Visa, some restaurants, that type of thing, and then multiple denominations within each brand. So $10, $15, etc. We'll probably be adding to that in the coming months too.
Yeah, and that makes it so easy for the gift giver, right? Like,
here's a handwritten note.
Here's what I want the note to say. You've already stuffed it, sent it. And you're right. I know I was just having this conversation a couple of days ago. I was like, I can't believe it's November already. Yep. And I'm like, we need to start thinking about the holidays and gifts for the kids and different things like that. And I'm like, there's so many items that you can't even get right now because they're stuck in shipping ports, or they haven't made it out of their stations or whatnot. I know, like a PS5, I've been looking for one for I think 6 months, and it's not looking pretty good for the holidays, even though that was the idea, was the main gift. But making sure that you have the right items in time. So using the gift cards will be a great benefit for a lot of people this year. Absolutely. David, this has been so fun chatting with you. Before we wrap up, I'm going to ask a couple rapid fire questions just to get to know you a little bit better. I'm curious, are you binge watching anything on TV right now?
So we just finished Squid Game. I don't know if you've watched Squid Game.
I have not, but somebody warned me that my kids should not be watching it, and they had watched like half of the first episode, so I had to watch
that. It's highly violent and very but very visually interesting. So the first episode was quite frankly the most visually interesting, but we just finished that up, and now we're just on to Curb Your Enthusiasm. But nothing. I usually, with the exception of Squid Game, I keep it pretty light because work is so stressful. My wife likes American Horror Story and all that stuff. I come home, I just want to decompress. I don't want anything that I have to really follow closely, or horror, or anything like that. I need something light. What about you?
Yeah. What am I watching right now? I think I'm watching Dear White People on Netflix, but I love that you mention keeping it light, because I completely agree. Like Schitt's Creek or Grace and Frankie, like it's just something whenever I just wanted to sit and veg and like relax a little bit, like they're mindless TV, but they would always make me giggle.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
love that. But yeah, I think I'm not a huge TV watcher, but I usually like to watch a little bit of a show like right before I go to bed. That's the only time I get the TV. I've got a couple of kids and a husband, and I'm usually the last person to find the remote. So
Yeah, for me, it's a lot. I'm binge watching Paw Patrol. Let's put it that way.
yeah, there's a lot of that. Or
Yeah,
which cartoon are we watching? Which Disney show?
yeah,
That's usually what we're watching, but occasionally it's nice to watch what I want to watch.
sure.
Do you have any books on your nightstand? Are you reading anything currently?
Yeah, so there's a few. So this is Find Your Yellow Tux by Jesse Cole. This is the next book I'm going to read. Jesse Cole runs a minor league baseball team in Savannah, Georgia called the Savannah Bananas. And what he's done is, I was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We had minor league. We had the Albuquerque Dukes before they geniusly became the Albuquerque Isotopes after the Simpsons Isotopes. But what he's done is he's completely changed the marketing on minor league baseball to it being very family friendly, almost like the Harlem Globetrotters, where the baseball players come out and they dance around, and the whole thing is a family friendly event. There's no advertising on the stadium. When you buy your tickets, you get the food for free. So he sells out every game because of it. So this is a very interesting book that I'm just starting in. Additionally, my favorite book, which I'm not reading now, but I've read it and I highly recommend it to everybody, is The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, which is kind of a classic. I'm sure you have it there. Excellent book. Yep. It's an excellent book. Talking about working on your business, not working in your business. And then also Traction. I don't know if you've looked at Traction.
I haven't.
Traction is actually on my nightstand, so I don't have it here. It's a framework. They call it EOS, which is Entrepreneur's Operating System. It's really just a framework for running meetings and on a weekly cadence. And we use the Traction framework to run our managers meetings. So I get the head of operations, head of sales, head of graphic design, all that in a room on a weekly basis. And we follow what they call the level 10 meeting framework. And it's been quite good in kind of keeping everybody on task, reporting on the right metrics. There's not a lot of side conversations. It's a very focused meeting and a good use of everybody's time. It's not like these BS meetings that sidetrack left and right. So that's probably, I would say Traction is quite a good one if you've already read E-Myth.
Yeah, and it's so important to make sure you have meetings that are productive and not just BS and fluff, especially nowadays where it sounds like maybe your team's meeting in person more, but I know so many people over the past 18 months, they've had virtual meetings, and sometimes they're on hour meetings and they're like, we didn't actually talk about anything. Like we just wasted an hour of time. So how do you get in there and be productive? So it's, I'll check it out. Absolutely. It sounds interesting.
Yeah.
And then who is one person, if you could name one, like that has been the biggest influence on your life?
So I mentioned this a few times in other podcasts and other Inc. magazine, other things. Conan O'Brien, actually, not for the reasons you think. So when I was in college 20 some odd years ago, I was on the committee that brought speakers to campus, and we brought Conan O'Brien to speak at our school. And he was still early in his career. He just got his own nighttime talk show, and he was very thoughtful. And when he came to speak, he said, if I have one set of words of advice for you, it's always get in over your head. And 20 some odd years later, always get in and over your head, always get in over your head. And it's really a mantra in my life. And it's funny now, Conan has his own podcast, and he has people call in, and I'm thinking of calling in and being like, dude, you changed my life. I follow your advice. But it always get in over your head is kind of my personal mantra.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to call him and be on a show. That would probably be a pretty cool
Show him the robots.
Yeah, show him how far you've come and how far you've gotten over your head, and look what you've been able to create and use from that mantra that he taught you so many years back. That's awesome. Yeah, and it would be fun. When you go on a show, make sure you let me know so I can share it with the audience.
Sure.
And then I have two last questions for you real quick. What's your happy spot? If you need to go reset, recharge, and like reflect, is there a place you like to go or something that you like to do?
Yeah, I mean, there aren't that many opportunities these days with two small kids and work and everything else. But we actually just got a cabin up in Flagstaff, which is about 2 hours north of where I live, and it's about 30 degrees cooler. And that 30 degrees makes a big difference. And I'm just able to go out on the back deck and look into some pine trees and chill out that way. So that's been a big, and then going for bike rides. I love bike riding when given the opportunity. So that's my own way to clear my head is take a long bike ride.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure the Flagstaff cabin comes in handy, especially during the summer when I'm born and raised in Vegas. I'm in California now, but I know that heat. So
yeah, Vegas and Henderson are the big feeders for Flagstaff in addition to Phoenix. It's it's a 2 hour from Phoenix, about a 3.5 from Vegas, and there's a lot of Vegas people there.
Yeah, we've gone up there a couple of times when I lived out there. I don't know how far it is from me now. I was just looking at a vacation for Sedona, and I'm like, it's so close, but it's still so far away. It's still like an 8-hour drive, I think, to Sedona from here.
Well, then that's 8 hours to Flag. I mean, it's like the same thing. But that drive between Sedona and Flag, it's like a 30-minute drive. The most beautiful drive in all of Arizona. Yeah. It's gorgeous. So
yeah, I'm excited to get out there this summer.
Good.
And then my last question for you, and I know I can't actually do it because our world's a little bit crazy these days, but if I could give you a plane ticket and you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go and why?
Where would I go? That's a very good question. I would love to go to Portugal. They have that, I forget what it's called, the festival where they have the people marching down the streets with those giant paper mache heads on. And, I feel like they're a couple steps back in time in some ways, which would be refreshing because I live in the land of strip malls. So I would love to go see Portugal and get back to Spain. I actually went to cooking school in Paris, so I'd love to go back to Paris and see how much that has changed in 20 years. See if the restaurant I worked at is still around. But I think maybe Europe. I've been fortunate enough to do 2 safaris in my life, which is just a tremendous trip. And I'd love to take my kids on one when they're a bit older too. And then also Colombia, believe it or not. I hear Colombia is just an incredible place these days with so much change. And you can kind of feel the dynamism there. And I'd love to experience that too.
Yeah, they all sound lovely.
Yeah.
Like we're all itching to get on vacation and go somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
David, it's been so fun having you on the podcast. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day and just sharing your story and your journey of getting your business up and going. And congratulations on just the growth that you've had and the fact that you have all these robots doing amazing things. And you're employing such an amazing group of people. I know people are going to want to connect with you and learn more. Where should we send them to?
Sure. So just visit handwrytten.com, HANDWRYTTEN. If you go to the business tab, you can request free samples. That's a great way to see the product for yourself. If you want to try it out, just use sign up code podcast when you do, and that'll get you $5 in credit, PODCAST, all one word. If you want to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn, David Wachs, WACHS at Handwrytten. Just look for the David at Handwrytten. It's probably me, although we now actually employ 2 other Davids. And then Twitter, I'm not super active. I'll just retweet Handwrytten stuff. I don't get into politics or anything like that. So LinkedIn is really the best way.
Okay, awesome. Perfect. And you already mentioned the free gift. So make sure you take advantage of David's offer, type in podcast and try it out. See what it's like to send a handwritten card to some of your clients or your prospects and see what happens. I know I personally love getting handwritten cards. So if you want to try it out and send it to me, that would be fine too. But I love what you're doing and bringing back some of this ability just to have handwritten cards and really build those connections. So David, thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Darlene. This has been a true pleasure.
Yeah. All right, everybody, that's a wrap for another episode of the Attract and Stand Out podcast. As always, I believe in you. You're allowed to stand out. You're allowed to shine. You're allowed to be you. We'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.